Hello and welcome to today's training on Functional Skills Level 2 Reading. My name is Chris Briggs and I'm the Sector Manager Post 16 English and Maths here at Pearson. Our training overview today is we're going to be looking at the exam content for Level 2 Reading with a little bit looking at the questions then with some further reading at the end to help support you moving forward. So exam content. Each test contains a context to allow learners to read and respond to a real-world scenario which is both accessible and familiar to them. Each test will also contain 3 reading texts, and they will contain a maximum of 1,000 words across the 3 of them. Each of the texts have been chosen to have language that is appropriate to Level 2. And if there is any additional language which is deemed to be higher than Level 2, a glossary will be provided for the learners. There are many examples of possible text which can be used. What we have are advertisements, articles, blogs, leaflets, letters, manuals, textbooks, transcripts, web comments, and so forth. From September 2016 onwards, all our paper-based exams will have an insert which will include the text to make it more user-friendly for the learners so they do not have to move backwards and forwards through the exam paper. The questions. This section is broken down as per the coverage and range for the reading assessment. So L2.2.1. Select and use different types of text to obtain and utilize relevant information. Learners may be asked to identify the correct text for their purpose for 1 mark. They need to give a valid reason for their choice, and for further marks, example. Learners may be asked to identify the correct text for their purpose, which will be worth 1 mark. They would then need to give a valid reason for their choice and an example from the text for further marks. The reason and example given must refer specifically to the text chosen at the beginning of the answer. L2.2.2. Read and summarize succinctly information, ideas from different sources. Learners may need to identify ideas that are in both texts. They can use quotations to support their answers. Learners must refer to both texts to secure a good mark for this type of questions. In addition, on different questions, learners may need to identify the correct combination of statements that summarize the ideas across the text. L2.2.3. Identify the purpose of the text and comment on how meaning is conveyed. Learners will get a mark for identifying each valid way the writer presents their ideas, up to a maximum of 2 marks on this type of question. They can then get an additional mark by providing a linked example for each way identified. This can be specific features such as language, content, and/or layout. Answers cannot be learned by rote for these questions because they are text specific. In identifying purpose, a correct answer requires the purpose and a phrase giving a holistic overview of the text. Often learners simply write to inform, to tell, or to explain. But this is not sufficient for a mark to be awarded. They need to be writing to inform someone of something. L2.2.4. Detect point of view, implicit meaning, and/or bias. Learners will need to be able to detect the main ideas in a text. They must be taught to read text carefully and be able to detect implicit meaning and bias. L2.2.5. Analyze text in relation to audience needs and consider suitable responses. Learners may be asked to choose the most suitable text for a purpose. They do not need to use a quotation to answer this question, but should provide a brief comment or interpretation as to why the text is the most suitable. To be awarded a mark, the learner needs to give a reason why the text is the most suitable. Learners may also be asked to analyze a number of texts. In order to secure a good mark for this question, the learners must use information from both texts and support their points with examples, quotations, or paraphrases. In addition, across all the questions, learners will be advised to use as much detail as possible. Previously, we have suggested that learners do not need to write in full sentences. However, by writing in full sentences, learners are more likely to be able to explain their answers more succinctly and, in turn, get more marks. This table shows the way that the functional skills coverage at level 2 is mapped. As you can see, there are 13 questions in total, and they cover coverage and range. In total, each element gets 6 marks, and this could be through 2 questions or 4 questions, depending on how the exam is structured.
Further reading. In addition to this presentation, there are also some other documents that Pearson have produced to help with your understanding of Level 2 reading. There is a Prezi presentation on the terms learners will need for question 6 of the reading paper. There is also a guidance to centres, which includes marked exemplar materials from the Chief Examiner. And finally, we have past papers and sample assessment materials on our website for you to use in class with your learners. I'd like to thank you for your time today, and good luck with your teaching.